In Pakistan, an 11-year-old girl who has a mental disability has been arrested and jailed for blasphemy. She's been accused of burning a Quran. Several human rights activists and non-Muslims being persecuted in Pakistan claim that accusations of blasphemy are commonplace in rural parts of Pakistan. Very often, these charges are simply being made up to persecute Christians and other non-Muslims in an effort to purge and criminalize non-Muslim faiths and activities. However, this persecution is not exclusive to non-Muslims. People ruled by Sharia law often use the extreme punishments dictated within the law in order to maltreat one another. When footage leaked of executions taking place in Saudi Arabia, the Council of Ex-Muslims explained in great detail that often crimes many people are accused of are just arbitrary charges and they're often not guilty of anything at all. Saudi Arabia's religious police, the Mutaween, are under direct control of imams who are often competing with one another for control or political power in the regions they occupy. If one imam feels threatened by another, it is commonplace for a more powerful imam to have a lesser one arrested by the Mutaween. An opposing imam and his followers can all be arrested, then have utterly made-up charges pressed against them, and all of them are summarily executed. What I just described represents struggles taking place on the top end of the scale. Often there are struggles taking place at the lower end of the scale where common people in the street are persecuting or accusing their neighbors of immorality. This happens mostly in impoverished nations in Africa and in places like Afghanistan and rural Pakistan. It has been described by witnesses as out of control. People everywhere are simply accusing one another of blasphemy, adultery, or whatever crime is serious enough to earn the harshest of punishment. Many people emigrating from these parts of the world are often fleeing from this kind of persecution. One of the problems about this predicament is the fact often local law enforcement is either unwilling or incapable of doing anything to rein in and control this behavior. This is because in nations ruled by religious law, these actions of persecution are perfectly legal. Try to imagine growing up in the McCarthy era with countless people pointing fingers at one another, accusing one another of being a communist, and then pulling out a gun and shooting one another. Imagine all of it being perfectly legal because there's some insane law stating people suspected of being a communist must be shot on sight by other common citizens. Could such a world foster anything but sheer murdering anarchy? That's the reality that places living currently under religious law is facing. Complete, lawless anarchy. No due process, no checks and balances in a functioning legal system. Just peasants chasing each other down in the streets and butchering one another. This emphasizes the importance of having secular law. Secular law is based on whether or not something has actually happened. When a theft has taken place, it means someone is missing something, and somebody else likely has something that doesn't belong to them. When an assault happens, a person has been beaten and someone is responsible. When a murder happens, you have someone who has died of unnatural causes and someone is responsible. There is a perceivable, measurable action and a cause. When you have religious laws, often it's just someone's opinion whether or not the law has actually been broken. Religious court systems often rely upon religious figures to interpret Holy Scripture for them in determining if a person has committed a religious crime. Very often, what is interpreted as a crime doesn't even count as a crime in most places governed by secular law, such as adultery, premarital sex, homosexuality, or practicing non-state-sponsored religions. When you have a society governed by the laws of God, the laws become interpretive as to what is supposed to appease a God that is always absent. Without a present God to speak from above and guide people, often the accused are put to death for crimes that are downright imagined, such as witchcraft. Every year, hundreds of people are put to death because they're accused of supernatural abilities that allegedly cause wreck and ruin upon the world, and the world is expected to take these claims seriously to justify brutal executions. To anyone with a modicum of sanity, it is obvious that these people must be innocent of any crime because we refuse to acknowledge any claim of supernatural abilities to be real. These are fictional and strictly imagined actions that cannot be measured or proven because magic is simply not real. Any person accused of witchcraft and is put to death for it must, by default of logic, be an innocent person who's the victim of a corrupt theological justice system governed by crooked officials. Religious figures often use their power to abuse their position. In a state that has no walls that separate it from the church, there are no checks and balances to keep the ruling class from heading into rampant corruption. This fact actually led to the creation of the first and most important secular states in the world. In the 18th century, King George of England was considered God's personal representative on earth. His very word was law, and he used his power to tax American colonists to ludicrous extremes. This led America to form independence. The founding fathers of America knew if they were to live in a free society, it would be a society governed by secular laws, laws that were written, overseen, and enforced solely by the hand of man, not the hand of God.